the waiting season. So it's not something we're going to complete today. We'll pick it up next week because of our time. But you want to be tuned in spirit to this altar at least for the next 45 minutes, so that you can understand what a waiting season is. I put in my notes that the waiting season is a little long definition, but I'll pick the key points after reading it. The waiting season is simply a season where a body, underline body, is simply a season where a body is released to behold the face of God uninterruptedly. Although God now can declare that this, you can post the definition there. I want to quickly set context on that line. God can declare that this month is a season of waiting. But if you are not careful, you will spend this entire July not being part of those on the queue or those experiencing waiting. And that is why I think it's important to set context so that you can always do check and balance in the confines of your house. It is the second week in July. Have I expressed an unusual body? Does that mean I'm not part of what God is going to be doing in August, new beginning? The reason is because there must always be a waiting season before a new beginning. So maybe you are not so concerned about the waiting season. I don't like to wait. I want to enter a new beginning, sharp. It will be an issue because no man experiences a new beginning without being involved in waiting. So it is simply a season where a body is released to behold the face of God uninterruptedly. Because, now this is the reason why that body is released and why you must behold his face uninterruptedly. Because an unusual move of God's blessing is about to be released. Remember, or take note that in this definition so far, released is repeated twice. Because the first thing that is released is a body to behold his face. And that body is released to behold his face because he needs you to be attentive to the next thing he wants to do after the body, which is the release of an unusual glory. I went further to say that the waiting season is the season that signals the closeness of the apportioned blessing. There's a blessing apportioned for you that you must take hold of before the year ends. And the waiting season, a season like this, is a signal for you if you are sensitive to know that, wow. So what is so? The waiting season is also a season that signals the closeness of the apportioned blessings. It is referred as the path to the fulfillment of God's blessings. The fulfillment of God's promises. Yeah. It is referred to the path, to the path of the fulfillment of God's promises. We're still talking about what the waiting season entails. The waiting season can also be seen as a divinely apportioned delay. Divinely apportioned delay. In other words, God can orchestrate things. Just in case you are not sensitive to waiting, He can orchestrate things around your confines, around your realm, to capture you in a place that seems as delay, and you begin to bind and cast against the enemy, but it is divinely apportioned by God, so that you can pay attention to beholding His face. I was saying something yesterday that many times when we pray for something and it feels like it takes so long for God to answer, is because we really did not wait on that thing. I will still break down what waiting means, because waiting to another person is just make an chill till you come. Spiritually, that's not what it means. It's not just that. It involves some activities that we are still going to talk about. Many times for example, I think an example I made yesterday was a barren woman. A barren woman can today feel sorry for her condition, think about it for the next 2 months, but because some things like finances is not an issue, maybe she's got a good career or got a good business, or she's got trust funds, money is not a problem for her. She doesn't stay so much in the sorrow of that barrenness. So she can be down today for the next 4 or 5 weeks, and then by the time she jumps on Instagram or jumps on one thing or the other, or just see some fancy things that can trigger appetite, she just says, let me just give myself a treat. Ibiza, yeah, let me just book some trip to Ibiza, do some spa, just relax. I know that God will do it. And then, in that realm, what happens is that because the situation she's dealing with is a situation that still allows her appetites to be active, to be expressed. Yeah, that's the right word. It's a situation that still gives expression for appetites. So that way, sometimes she can now wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. No. It's not because God is unfaithful. It's not because it's too difficult for God. He says, is there anything too difficult for God to do? Now, there are 2 reasons that makes such type of thing so long. Number 1, don't forget in our definition, it could be an apportioned delay. Divinely apportioned by God. That's different. However, there's another side to that long answer period. The other side is because the waiting for that which they are expecting is not quantifiable enough. So maybe the woman is supposed to actually be in a season of waiting for 6 months. I'm not a woman. I've not been married before, so I don't know how it feels. But there are some problems that you cannot be sorrowful for 6 months straight. And I perceive that as one of those. That in that 6 months, something will interrupt that sorrow, and that is called an expression of appetite. That she will snap out. She can even chatter a lot of Netflix. The list of Netflix recent movies that she wants to watch for the next 3 months. So it truncates the aspect of the beholding the face of God. That's a portion 6 months that she should have waited. So assuming she could have understood that this waiting is a waiting till a result comes. So many barren women will have their children in less than, they will be pregnant less than a year. Because the Bible said, and none shall be barren in the land. And maybe it was until at least, my goodness. Not Elizabeth, I'm trying to remember, that's John's. Anna, maybe it was until Anna sensed in her spirit that no, it's not a matter of I go and see a pastor today. Then he tells me that God will do it, just do 3 days fasting, and then I do 3 days fasting, and then I enter club again, or then I go for, I allow my appetite again, and then I forget it for another. In fact, my daughter said I should not stress it. These things are true. But until you discover this on this body to behold his face for that season, and you complete that season, many times you won't get the answer. So maybe it was Anna realizing that Shiloh is coming. So maybe a lot of Shiloh that happened in the past, Anna never caught that one, but this particular year she realized that Shiloh was an apportioned waiting season for her. So she entered into that. She caught that body. She could have felt the body and still say, I know I feel body to go for Shiloh, but it's forced to that time where they say we should go for a group trip in Ibiza. Ibiza is my favorite place now to use for this analogy. So instead of her choosing the body of that which she desires, that she claims is sorrowful to her, she chose the appetite. But do you know that some other issues happens in life to some of us that we now wonder, God answered in just a month, in just 2 months. He said, why can't I send God to answer in barren in just a month or 2 months? The reason is because some issues happen to us, and that issue takes away any opportunity for our appetite to express itself. And I gave an example. For example, you lose your job and you are the only provider of the family. Nothing in life will matter to you. Except if you are somebody that you are used to being fed. So if you lose your job, they will package you and still be alright. But if you are somebody that you are a body bearer, everyone feeds on you. In fact, it's shameful to open your mouth and say, can I get 50 pounds? Then you now lose your job. In fact, you won't wait for God to release body. You will not have the appetite to eat anything that you love to eat. Everything will not matter to you. Even if the appetite wants to, because flesh is strong. There's sometimes that the appetite wants to pronounce that this Coca-Cola is so cheap. You take a coffee and step down. There's a moment like that. Let me apply for job. Let me just use this to step. So even if you got that Coca-Cola, you might not be as what Coca-Cola you go back to that because it's a situation that you every single day that the day wants to break, your heart is beating again. How will you survive? But the one of barrenness, money there, everything there, you can be sorrowful 3 weeks after. You use your money to do. You can hear say you want to throw a party, so that you just feel okay. Because the money will be, but once money is not there and you are a body bearer, nobody will ask you to sleep on the mountain for till the day you see congratulations you have been given the job. And that is why God answers quickly on things like that. And that looks like maybe it's easier than. No, it's the same God. It's the same power. It doesn't cost him more. No. The only reason why he answers is the parable he gave you about that widow that troubled that judge, that wicked judge. Until the judge got tired and said, I will answer you because your trouble is too much. Waiting season, either it is apportioned or not apportioned, it troubles the heavens to answer you. Revelation teaches us that there is an angel that attends to the prayers of the saints. Now the angel is attending. You think it's only on the heads that they will say application, that this application we are attending based on it, how many that came in. And then that's on the same heads, although they are attending based on first come, first serve, but they still put some routes priority. So although you have been here for 10 days, 10 months, somebody submits today and gets it in 24 hours, so it can be done in 24 hours, is because they put extra to fast track their waiting, to get their answer, to fast track their answer, so that they are, although they still waited 24 hours, but they waited shorter. Now, how come the same thing, I'm waiting 10 months, you're waiting 24 hours, you just waited 24 hours, we both waited, but short, we waited in a shorter distance. Because they stayed on that matter and gave all that office requires for the fast track to happen. reveal that mystery. If only you can understand the mystery of waiting on the judge. He said the woman will get there. It was practically getting there before the judge resumes. And the judge is closing. He's entering his office. The woman is on her knee begging. This woman, that's something. He's closing. His meeting are still there. He even walks out of his office, leaves her there. The next day, the third day, he gets tired and says, please let that woman follow me. Let me just attend to her. That same thing of waiting. Now this angel is attending to the prayers of the saints. He sees Adedayo. He sees Adedayo wants to be a billionaire so he can be paid tithe of 1 billion in billions. Adedayo, serious. Let me attend to the woman that is a child or that is ready to get a child, so we can send a prophet to the earth. He sees this one. Needs a child, okay. I'll try to attend to this one. He opens the next one. Adedayo, billionaire so I can pay tithe. He opens the third one, it's my name. Fourth one is my name. Then he gets tired and says, God, before I continue the rest, in fact, at this point, there's a possibility I'll still see so many Adedayo's on this same matter. Can you, these are the prayers of the saints. I'm supposed to sort 100 in a day. Adedayo appeared 60 times. And that 100 in a day, because Adedayo appears 60 times, it is prioritized. That's the price. That's what waiting, that's what waiting costs. He ensures that your prayer as a saint is prioritized, is fast-tracked. Your request is fast-tracked. I said it can be referred to a path to the fulfillment of God's promises. It can be seen as a divinely apportioned delay and a time of growth, pruning, and transformation. That's how I have read the definition. And a time of pruning, of growth, pruning, and transformation. Growth, pruning, and transformation. 2 Corinthians 3 verse 18, it says, but we all, with open faces, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, we are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. You see that this scripture here further edifies or amplifies, better still, the pruning, the growth, and the transformation that comes with your waiting season. We all with unveiled faces. The unveiled there that you need to understand is what I'm trying to bring your perspective into. The knowing and understanding of what waiting means. The unveiled faces means awareness. We all with an awareness of what the season is. It's not the physical that you remove. Yes, it means that you are unmasked. You are enlightened. You can see clearly. So it says, with unveiled faces, beholding as in a glass. Beholding as in a glass is trying to say that you can see the move of God clearly. The glass there is simply means clarity. Beholding clearly. Beholding as in a glass means beholding clearly the image of God or the glory of God. We are transformed to His own image. If only you understand the image of God. The image of God is an effulgence of the highest realm of light. So He says that you are with an unveiled face. Now you are alert, that you are aware that this is a waiting season. And in this waiting season, you can see clearly that it is because of what the Lord wants to do, bringing you to a new chapter. So that is beholding in a glass. You can see clearly God's plan. Then what happens is that you are transformed into His glory. And it doesn't stop there. Your new beginning will not start and stop in August. That is why the rest of the year will be the months of evidence. Because he said, you will now be transformed from glory to glory. So it's a continuous thing. But what happened to release that continuous blessing? There was a season you waited. There was a season you waited. You know that when Hannah waited on the Lord for Samuel, it was just for that season. I don't think she had to go and wait unto the Lord for Samuel's growth. I don't think she had to go and wait unto the Lord for Samuel's destiny. God revealed all the glory per time, automatically, because of one season of waiting. It's a season that closely aligns with the Spirit. These are just bullet points. It's a season that closely aligns with the Spirit and anticipate the promise. But the key point here is that it is not the season to do nothing. And I said that earlier. Because some of us hear the word waiting, and carnal definition means just stay. But spiritual definition means stay and be active. There are some rituals that are expected in your waiting season. A waiting season without rituals is not, is weightless. It doesn't move anything. So even in the heavens, they don't know you are waiting. What they think you are doing is you are wasting. And they are bothered that how come we release a season for the children of God to wait and behold the face of the Father, but yet some are wasting. And a man can be wasting in a waiting season when he's just waiting, carnal definition, doing nothing. And that wastedness is because he lacks understanding. My people perish because of lack of understanding. So the waiting season is not a season to do nothing. However, is it a season of rest? Yes, but not the rest in the world. Resting in God. It's a season where you rest in the Lord, but not a season where you do nothing. Because those that indeed rest on the Lord, they do something. And what they do are called rituals. Doctrinal rituals. Doctrinal rituals. I'm not going to be talking on those activities you're going to be doing in your waiting season. Is for another day. But you got to understand that your season of waiting is not your season of doing nothing. And you have to understand that your season of waiting is for an appointed time. Why am I emphasizing on the appointed time? Because if you don't catch the waiting in this season, it prolongs. That means you have to go and queue for another one. Now the UK, they've changed immigration policies, and then I think one of the things they did, I think one of the policies they made is social and health care. They don't allow foreigners again, if I'm correct. They don't allow foreigners again, but they still allow foreigners to convert within the system until 2028. Now that's a season. That's a season of waiting to enter into that timeline. If anybody misses that, permit me to use the word waiting now rather than opportunity. But you get what I mean by waiting. Waiting is that you are captured in an appointed time to act on the things you need to act on. So you need to start packaging your documents together. You need to start saving. You need to start doing all of those things and planning if you will jump on that train before 2028. So it's for an apportion time that once you miss that apportion time, you have to wait for another. And all of this connects to what we always talk about, the chronos and the kairos moment. You have to wait for another time. And then another time, the sad part is that God might have moved on what He wants to do with you. So although you are still asking for A, God, the next waiting season is for God to do B. Although that's what God had in plan to do B, but God cannot see, sometimes God cannot even now do the B. So it means that you are repeating. So that season will now work, potentially by grace work for your A. Then your B has to be in another time. So it is for an apportion time. Habakkuk 2 verse 3 says, for the vision awaits its appointed time. Though it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Habakkuk teaches us here that the waiting time is apportioned. And once it fulfills the apportioned time, what happens is that it comes to pass. The promises comes to pass. So it is you that defines it as delayed because you don't know the apportioned time. Now, I like to use immigration because we are immigrants in this country. So we know the process. Even if an agent doesn't, you still have the idea of what you went through. Now, an example is if you are applying to switch or apply for another route within the UK, it takes 8 weeks to get a turnaround. If you are applying for that same but from outside the UK, it takes 3 weeks. You will call it a delay if you don't understand that. If you apply within the UK and what you understood only was the timeline for Nigeria, if you don't know that your own timeline, because you are now in the UK, that your waiting is different because of the uniqueness of your case, as 8 weeks, if you don't understand that, you will call once you reach 3 weeks. If not gotten, you will say it is delayed because you don't understand the apportioned time. So we always say our waiting is longer because we don't understand the apportioned time. We don't understand the apportioned time. So Habakkuk says there is something about waiting. He said it is for an apportioned time. There's something about promises rather, or visions. They come in the apportioned time. And before they come, something must be fulfilled. He said you have to wait for it. Isaiah 30 verse 18 says, therefore the Lord awaits to be gracious to you. Therefore he will rise up to show mercy for you. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are those who wait for him. Isaiah 30:18 is saying that in waiting for the Lord, there is the blessing. But if you read that scripture very well, it also mysteriously teaches us that God usually waits for your waiting. So that means that you can trigger a waiting for yourself. Even without heavens getting tired of you being delayed and then they release body for you to wait. How can you trigger your waiting? Based on the pain. That was what I was talking about. There are some kind of situations that, for example, health. Some people will be so sick and their faith will be heightened. And truly they will not die. Because they will not let God rest on that sickness until God delivers them. And if the hospital or the doctor are giving them 6 months to live, they will come back after 6 months to say that the test result was reversed. Because every single day, it felt like the day was going to end. They lost appetite, for desire, fleshly desires. That was the only thing they would look, beholding God's face. So they triggered the waiting based on their situation. Under 6 months, God was, you hear God reverse leukemia, cancer, and all of that. And they'll bring the test result. That same God can also do barrenness. Doesn't have to take years. None shall be barren in the land. That same God too can also make you that which you are. I was saying yesterday, I said all of us, including myself, where we are is as a factor of two things. Remember, we cannot overrule the intentional appointed delay of God. But sometimes, or most times, where we are is as a reason of our faith level. So maybe you and I believe we should be wealthier than the way we are. It's faith level. It's faith level. Okay, I was reading about exports yesterday. And I was reading about it for hours because of one thing my wife said to me. And my spirit within myself was saying, your enemy has wasted. Because I've kind of been in the agric all in throughout Nigeria. And then when this export was like a possibility for me. In fact, when a friend encouraged me, in fact, the friend said, I will give you startup. When he came, I'm like, no, I can't do that which that friend said. But I could have done the one I'm reading now. Because you can approach it in different ways. Although the one that the friend was advising is not what I admired, but there was a different one I could have leveraged on. Now, another reason why I didn't leverage on that, because what I was looking for was to ensure that my children grew up in a better area. So I was more positioned about living in Nigeria. And all my resources were channeled to that. But after I left, and God started to do it, and I've achieved what I want to achieve in terms of my family, and then some finances started coming. I started to record many opportunities I've had financially that I didn't have excuse not to involve in exports. And I was reading testimonials of people making money back to back for the last 10 years in exporting, and they didn't even start with up to 5 million naira. So you are wondering, what excuse did you have? Maybe now I would have been dealing in at least 3-4 containers. Maybe now my exporting business in Naira would have been at least in a month 60 million naira capital. If I'm able to make millions weekly, maybe I'm able to make like 20 million naira. 15 million naira on exports on a few continents. Maybe I should have been recording that, but faith level and lack of understanding or being sensitive would not let it. So many of us, it's not the act of what God can do with us that we have. We are where we are based on the level of faith we have. Level of understanding we have, and the level of faith we have put into work. So you can trigger your waiting season. Isaiah 30 verse 8, I'll read again. Therefore the Lord waits to be gracious to you. God himself is waiting to be gracious to you. If what I says, therefore he will rise up to show you mercy, for the Lord your God is a God of justice. Blessed are those who wait for him. So the blessing is on those who wait for him. However, the mystery I'm getting from this is that there's a line, there's a dependency sometimes in your waiting and God's waiting. Sometimes God is waiting to be gracious to you. He's waiting on you, rather. He's waiting on your waiting to be gracious to you. He's waiting on your waiting. So that is why, if in this season of waiting you don't find the body released to you by heavens, a body to do some unusual spiritual rituals as you are beholding the face of God uninterruptedly, according to that definition. That definition is given when you fact check your life this month and see that, okay, they said a body has to be released. I'm not sensing anybody. Okay. They said it has to, or maybe I'm sensing a body, but they said it has to be uninterrupted. This one is very interrupted. This is the month I watch Netflix the most. You are not waiting. You are not waiting. It could have happened last month, 2 months ago, 3 months, but if a season is captured as waiting, you have to do it uninterruptedly. Uninterruptedly. Beholding the face of the Father has to be constant. As I look to round up, I'll quickly start on this, which is basically saying what happens in the waiting season. I have a few points, but I'll touch on 1 or 2 max, and we'll continue next week. So what happens in the waiting season? We've said we built a lot of context around waiting, so we all understand what waiting means. Now, what happens in the waiting season? In the waiting season, patience is exercised. And that patience is not a synonym to doing nothing. But you got to understand that in waiting season, patience is exercised. James 5:7-8 says, "Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the coming of God. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and the spring. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near." The Lord is about to visit you and I, but your waiting will involve patience. I love the Bible so much because there's a way He uses live examples to illustrate or pass the message. Now, in James 5:7-8, he's talking about patience in waiting on God. But then he compares that patience in waiting on God with a farmer that waits for his crop to yield. And this buttresses my point that the patience that is forged in waiting is not a synonym of doing nothing. Because when a farmer is waiting for his crop to yield, does he stand and do nothing? In patience. What is the definition of that is patience? His definition of patience is that he will go there, we water it. He will go there, we look at the sunlight. In fact, he might control the sunlight the way it is coming on it, or maybe it's not. He can even try to be thinking, how can I, if the plant needs more sunlight, he will be thinking, how can I direct the reflection of this sunlight towards the side? That is the definition of his patience. Because that thing is not giving him what he wants to see immediately, but yet he's grooming it, he's pruning it, he's learning as he's being patient. When he does something today, it comes tomorrow, he sees that thing didn't work, he begins to innovate another thing. That is his patience. He weeds away the elements around antagonizing growth around his crops. And that is the exact thing. He is doing his own agricultural rituals while he's waiting for the yield of the crop. In patience. So in waiting, patience is exercised. Exercise. I use the word exercise because in that patience you are doing something. Romans 8:25 says, "But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience." The preceding verse there was talking about what is the necessity of waiting. Another word for waiting is hope. Another word for spiritual, this spiritual waiting we'll be talking about is hope. Is hope. Waiting is synonym to hope. So Romans 28:25 here says that if we hope, in other words, but if we wait for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. The preceding verse said, what is the benefit of hoping? In other words, what's the benefit of waiting for what we've already seen? Then this verse is now saying, but once we have not seen it yet, we are forced to wait for it. Better still, hope for it in patience. And I want to say that, do you know that patience patience in itself is not the ability to wait. Because you will think that you need patience before you wait. In fact, you see these farmers we are talking about, that they wait patiently for their crop yield. While they are waiting, they are actively exercising their patience, pruning it, weeding it off, watering and all that. These sort of farmers, some farmers naturally, if you know their personality, they don't have patience. But when it comes to agriculture, they have patience. So my point here that I want you to capture is that don't say, I understand everything you're saying, Pastor, but naturally I'm not somebody that has patience. I can't wait. It just has to happen. If it's not happening, then make God day. Make everybody just day. Why not if it happened this month? Why must it? I don't have God. God that created me knows that He created me without patience. So if He created you without patience, that's why He knew that you have flaws. So that is why He gave you a spirit. And in the spirit, what's something that is found is called fruit. One of the fruits is patience. So waiting, patience is not the ability. Because I said one of the things that happens in waiting is that patience is exercised. Now I want to correct the fact that this patience is exercise in waiting. When patience doesn't come, then you now say, okay, I have patience. I will now wait. In what happens is that you will enter a waiting season and patience will start to be exercised. So patience is not basically what is needed to wait. It's not an ability you must have or a capability you must have before you decide you want to wait on God. Rather, it comes while you are waiting. That's why we talk about in the definition that it helps to prune you. Part of the pruning is that it establishes the understanding and the exercising of patience. Point 2, which will be the last for today. In waiting for the Lord, you will be ready to go beyond the tolerance of flesh. Waiting for the Lord goes beyond the tolerance of flesh. Breaking beyond the tolerance of flesh happens in waiting. Anna was waiting on the Lord beyond the tolerance of her flesh. Do you know that it took the priest to interrupt Anna before Anna stood up from there? My question is, if Eli wasn't there, only God knows how long Anna would have stayed. Anna decided to behave like Habakkuk. Habakkuk said, I will climb up onto the mountain. I will stand my gap post. I will wait on the Lord and hear what He has to say. What makes you think that God will hear? God will speak because He understood that the mystery of waiting provokes hearing or seeing. Anna was practicing the way of Habakkuk. She went there and she practiced something similar thing like Habakkuk practiced. She went there and she was waiting. And in her waiting, she wasn't just doing nothing. She was, you could say she was blabbing, because I don't know if it was tongue she was speaking. She was blabbing she was groaning to the Lord. Eli did not understand what she was saying. Because Eli was a priest. If she was speaking a language that was spiritual, Eli would have understood and said it is okay. But her groaning was not a familiar thing to Eli. So Eli said, you are drunk early this morning. You this woman, you don't have a child. It's still alcohol that is the next thing for you in the morning. And then she said, "Holy sir, if only you know the pain and the burdens I carry." And then I realized that this woman she's rational, she's sane, she's in her senses. So you are here in Shiloh to release burdens. So what I thought was a demonstration of alcoholism or drunkenness is a demonstration of beholding the Father. So you understood that in beholding God, it's not until you see a pastor, you see a priest, you understood that it is also when you stand in the confines of where His presence is captured to wait on Him and groan until He hears you. That's why you see some people will be speaking in tongues. They will pray. They've gotten to this place where they can't. So until you get there, you won't hear anything. So Anna has got to the place. So Eli was wondering, you are not making sense. Until Eli interrupted her and she respected the office of Eli. She did not stop. She just reminded her and said, if you only knew the burdens. She continued groaning. Then Eli felt the burdens and stamped her and said, "Don't worry, let it be unto you as you wish." It was until she heard that and it sounded like the voice of God because it came from the priest. Then her soul was suited. She knew that she has heard God and her waiting was complete. Then she went and she got the answer. So in waiting, it will go beyond the tolerance of flesh. Anna was not doing all of that in flesh. Because she knew that everyone there will carry an impression about her. Including the priest. Because the priest was in